Wednesday, June 8th, Joseph, a slave in Egypt. We now pick up the flow of Joseph's stories, which have been interrupted by the Tamar incident. Joseph is now working as a slave for the captain of the guard, who is in charge of the prison for royal officials. Genesis 43:4 and 41:10-12. Genesis 39 says, Now Joseph was taken down to Egypt, and an Egyptian named Potiphar, a court official of Pharaoh and chief of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. But God was with Joseph. As a result, he became successful and was put over the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that God was with him and that God was making everything that he did successful. Joseph kept finding favor in his eyes, and he became his personal attendant. So he appointed him over his house, and he put him in charge of all that was his. From the time he appointed him over his house and in charge of all that was his, God kept blessing the house of the Egyptian because of Joseph, and Jehovah's blessing came to be on all that he had in the house and in the field. He eventually left everything that was his in Joseph's care, and he gave no thought to anything except the food he was eating. Moreover, Joseph grew to be well-built and handsome. Now, after these things, the wife of his master began to cast her eyes on Joseph and say, Lie with me. But he refused and said to his master's wife, Here, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has entrusted everything he has into my care. There is no greater in this house than I am, and he has not withheld from me anything at all, except you, because you are his wife. So how could I commit this great badness and actually sin against God? So day after day she spoke to Joseph, but he never consented to lie with her or to remain with her. But on one of the days when he went into the house to do his work, none of the household servants were in the house. Then she grabbed hold of him by his garment and said, Lie down with me. But he left his garment in her hand and fled outside. As soon as she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and had fled outside, she began to cry to the men of the house and say to them, Look, he brought to us this Hebrew man to make us a laughingstock. He came to me to lie down with me, but I began to cry out at the top of my voice. Then as soon as he heard me raising my voice and screaming, he left his garment beside me and fled outside. After that she laid his garment beside her until his master came to his house. Then she told him the same thing, saying, The Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came to me to make me a laughingstock. But as soon as I raised my voice and began to scream, he left his garment beside me and fled outside. As soon as his master heard the words his wife spoke to him, saying, These are the things your servant did to me, his anger was blazed. So Joseph's master took him and gave him over to the prison, the place where the prisoners of the king were kept under arrest. And he remained there in the prison. But God continued with Joseph and kept showing loyal love to him and granting him favor in the eyes of the chief officer of the prison. So the chief officer of the prison put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners in the prison, and everything that they were doing there, he was the one having it done. The chief officer of the prison was looking after absolutely nothing that was in Joseph's care. For Jehovah was with Joseph, and God made whatever he did successful. In light of the example of Jacob's working as a manager under Potiphar, What are the factors that led to such success? Almost immediately, Joseph was characterized as a man of success. Genesis 39:2-3. He was so good, and his master so trusted him that all that he had he put into his hand. And Potiphar even made him overseer over his house. 39:4. Joseph's success, however, does not corrupt him. When Potiphar's wife notices him and wants to sleep with him, Joseph unambiguously refuses and prefers to lose his job and his security rather than do this great wickedness and sin against God. Genesis 39:9. The woman, humiliated by Joseph's refusal, reports falsely to her servants and to her husband that Joseph wanted to rape her. As a result, Joseph is cast into prison. Joseph experiences here what we all have experienced, the sense of abandonment by God, though even in this difficult time, the Lord was with Joseph. Genesis 39:21. Eventually, the Lord acts, and it has an impact on Joseph's relationship with the officer of the prison. Here, too, as in the master's house, the Lord blesses Joseph. He obviously is a gifted man, and despite even worse circumstances now, after all, before he was still a slave, he seeks to make the best of it. Whatever his gifts, however, the text makes it clear that, in the end, it was only God who brought him success. The keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Genesis 39:23. How important that all who are gifted, all who are successful, remember where it all comes from. Read Genesis 39:7-12 and answer, how did Joseph resist the advances of Potiphar's wife? Why did Joseph specifically say that to do what she asked would be a sign, or rather a sin against God? What surrounding does he show, and what understanding of the nature of sin and what it is? From the book The Story of Redemption, pages 101-103, it says, when Joseph was tempted to deviate from the path of right, to transgress the law of God, and prove untrue to his master, he firmly resisted and gave evidence of the elevating power of the fear of God in his answer to his master's wife. He would not be persuaded to deviate from the path of righteousness and trample upon God's law by any inducements or threats. Here is an example to all generations who should live upon the earth. Although they may be exposed to temptations, yet they should ever realize that there is a defense at hand, and it will be their own fault if they are not preserved. God will be a present help, and his Spirit a shield. Although surrounded with the severest temptations, there is a source of strength to which they can apply and resist them. God bless.